Mnguni is the chair of the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association on the line to react to this now. Sinenhlanhla, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time today on Newsfeed. What's your reaction to this? Are you suddenly a fan of Alan Winde?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on your show, Stephen, and definitely a big fan of Alan Winde as of yesterday. Well, we actually issued a press release earlier today commending the Western Cape provincial government for the position it has taken vis-a-vis the banning of certain goods which were not classified as essential goods under the regulations published by government during the course of last week.
All right. I mean, cigarettes are bad for you, right? Why should they be sold?
Of course, we don't detract from the fact that cigarettes are bad for you. But in a time where the economy is as inactive as it is now, and also in light of what happened last week with the downgrade, we feel that, the sale of cigarettes at this stage could be used to sort of stimulate the economy. I mean, what we're finding is that the illicit trade in cigarettes at this stage is actually thriving because people are still looking for cigarettes. And that obviously then creates issues because the intention of the regulations in relation to the lockdown were geared at preventing the movement of people, especially in large numbers. So what's happened is now people are still going around looking for these cigarettes, and we feel that government should possibly look at being fluid and amending the regulations to allow the sale of cigarettes. I mean, they could then benefit because they would be able to obviously then raise far larger amounts in as far as excise is concerned, which they could use then, for instance, for issues such as tackling the coronavirus.
Do you believe there might be pent-up demand? We might see a rush of people going to supermarkets to the Western Cape for essential items and just happen to pick up a whole carton of cigarettes at the same time.
No, it is a big concern. In fact, just with the citizens of the Western Cape, I'm assuming because the national government hasn't made a pronouncement on this issue, you might find a situation where everyone in the Western Cape now rushes to buy as many cigarettes as they can get, because right now the situation is unclear as to where national government stands. And obviously, we all know that national government will always override a provincial government.
Well, the courts might end up ruling on that, depending on how these regulations go.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a discussion I've been having throughout the day, in that the regulations don't actually explicitly exclude cigarette sales. I know there's an issue in as far as alcohol is concerned, but a lot of people are commenting on the basis that the regulations don't necessarily exclude cigarettes as an essential good.
Okay, so Sinenhlanhla, I mean, one of the things we know about the COVID virus is COVID-19 is that it affects your respiratory system. In other words, it goes for your lungs. If you're a smoker, your lungs are in a much weaker position. In other words, smoking quite literally could kill you, along with the coronavirus.
Of course. Look, having read up quite extensively on this topic, and without trying to advocate that cigarettes are good for you, it actually hasn't been proven conclusively that cigarettes obviously would enhance your chances of getting the COVID virus. And also another argument to that is that when someone stops for 21 days, smoking for 21 days, and that's not even the case, because people are still allowed to smoke if they have cigarettes. They're just not allowed to buy any after the lockdown period. But not smoking for 21 days isn't a significant enough period for one's lungs to sort of ameliorate and for the effect of past smoking behavior to sort of be improved on.
Well, Sinenhlanhla, I don't know if that's entirely the truth. I mean, when you say that it hasn't been proven conclusively that this makes you more vulnerable to the disease, we know that people with emphysema are more vulnerable to the disease. And I'm afraid to say, if I need to remind you of the history of the tobacco industry, it's exactly what you said about lung cancer for many, many years. So maybe we should just swiftly move on. The National Council Against Smoking, by the way, has said this week that if you stop smoking for just a few days, your health will improve. You'll start to smell things you hadn't, and start to taste things. You and I can have this debate, and I'm sure that we will in the future.
Of course.
Let me just ask you a different question about this, though. Do you expect that there'll be a rise in the illicit trade because of national government's regulations? You made the point that excise money will be lost to the fiscus. We had seen that already because of issues that had happened at SARS. SARS says it's now recovering that revenue. But my greater point is that around this country you can probably pick up a packet of cigarettes for under 20 rand. We know that if you're paying less than 40 rand for it, it's an illegal box of cigarettes.
No, look, I will correct you on that. It's not 40 rand. I think the figure's more around 20 rand because excise sits at just below 20 rand. So it's not 40 rand as you put it. But as far as the illicit trade, it definitely will thrive. I mean, there's already a large quantity of illicit cigarettes within the country that will smuggled through our borders over the last few years. So there's definitely people sitting with that stock at present. And what will happen is that obviously it will find its way to consumers. And as a matter of fact, I mean, being involved in the tobacco industry, people automatically would assume that I would know where to source cigarettes. But it's one of those things. People are looking for these products, and you would know, and I think any person with a brain would know that people will do whatever it takes to try and source something that they want.
Sinenhlanhla Mnguni, I do appreciate the time. Thanks very much indeed. The chairperson